Hi, welcome to SBR Sports Picks. I'm Peter Loshak. Today is Thursday, July 21st, and we are talking right now with Nick Kalikas from MMAOddsbreaker.com. We're going to take a look at the upcoming, the next fight for Holly Holm fighting Valentina Shevchenko, a newcomer, another badass newcomer to women's bantamweight in the UFC, and they're fighting on UFC on Fox 20. Nick Kalikas, thanks for being with us. And right now I'm seeing Holm at -220, Shevchenko on the other side at +180. And I believe yesterday I saw Holm as a much bigger favorite, closer to about -300. It's understandable why she'd be a big favorite here because, you know, obviously she's a very, very well-known name, and Shevchenko is not really well-known. But of course, you know, she's fought twice in the UFC. She beat Sarah Kaufman, and then she lost a decision to Amanda Nunes, who of course just recently beat Miesha Tate. And you know, she's looking like she should be very competitive here with Holly Holm. So I'm not exactly sure where the odds should be. Well, let's just start. Where'd you open this line, and where's the public been betting?
I opened at -350 for Holm.
Yeah, wow.
And yep, and now it's obviously a drastic change, like you just mentioned. But the funny thing is, early on, it went up over 4-1. Mm-hmm. So all the early action came in on Holly Holm. I mean, they were really getting one-sided action to the point where I had to step in and say, hey, you guys are getting a little sick with this line. What's going on? They were like, everybody keeps on hitting Holm, so, you know, we want some buyback on Shevchenko or whatever. Well, they got the buyback along the way.
I mean, so, where has that come? Has that come from, like, public bettors or from more sharp accounts?
More of the public is on Holm. And then what happened yesterday was heavy sharp action actually came in on Shevchenko.
Oh, wow.
So that's what caused the drastic drop. Obviously, if there's wise guys out there that do well betting MMA, that bet maximum limits, and of course across the board, not just one place, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they were going to respect the wise guys, and they're going to drop the number even more. And of course, they check in and say, hey, what's, you know, these guys, I said, yeah, they're on the right path for sure, because Shevchenko can get the job done. She's just one of those girls, like you said, underrated a little bit, flying under the radar some. I mean, I know she has a couple quality performances. The Nunes fight that she's coming off of a loss, really, if that was a championship fight, I mean, if, you could always say if, I guess, but if that was a championship fight, Shevchenko would have won. Nunes was fading. She won that third round. Unfortunately, she lost the first 2 rounds. I actually picked Shevchenko against Nunes in that fight. I was thinking that she would probably start taking over, lose round 1, and she'd take over a little bit earlier in the second round. She just did it kind of a round slower than I thought she would. So Shevchenko's right there. I mean, she is definitely a talented fighter. And Holly Holm, even though she was the girl to beat Ronda Rousey, which was amazing still, I mean, to think of it, and Miesha Tate, she was winning that fight. I mean, she was, you know, a few minutes away from actually getting the decision on the scorecards before she got submitted.
Sure.
So I understand the respect factor with Holly Holm as well. But the line was inflated when I opened it. It opened a little bit too high. I even stated that, again, to the sports books I work for.
Yeah.
Mainly because Holly Holm is going to get that kind of respect. So a lot of people think it's a gimme fight. Get her back on track, get her back in the title mix against a decent opponent like Shevchenko, but truthfully, it's a tough matchup for Holm.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think I would still lean Shevchenko even at +180 again, you know, and not because we've seen so many upsets in women's bantamweight, just because she seems like, you know, as you know, awesome as Holly Holm legitimately is, Shevchenko seems like just talent-wise, she's right up there with her, and you know, she's 6 years younger. I'm not, you know, necessarily looking to time an age-related decline with Holly Holm, but the age factor has to be given to Valentina, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think that, you know, especially fight years, everything, you know, I mean, obviously Holly Holm has a ton of boxing experience. Well, Shevchenko has Muay Thai experience as well. Yeah. So both these ladies have fought outside of MMA quite a bit. But overall, I think Shevchenko is the fresher of the 2 fighters. There's a lot of different ways Shevchenko can be competitive with Holm. I know that Holm has length. She's obviously has good footwork movement. She's not an easy girl to get down. So it's going to be difficult. But at the same time, if you look at her fight against Pennington, Holly Holm's debut, Pennington was able to score on Holm as that fight went quite a bit. And Shevchenko's a heck of a striker as well.
Yeah.
So I think she could score on the feet. Actually, Holly Holm, even in the Rousey fight, she got tagged by Rousey to the point where she had to go for a takedown, which you're thinking to yourself watching that fight, do not take this girl down. That's exactly where you don't want to be. And she got desperate because she got tagged and rocked to the point where she had to go for that takedown to kind of just, you know, catch herself and kind of regroup type of situation there as well. So Holly Holm has shown, I don't want to say a bad chin, but somewhat of a suspect chin at times, you know, and she's definitely hittable as well. But so I could see Shevchenko pushing the pace a little bit. maybe pushing her up against the cage if she can kind of corner her against the cage, looking for a takedown. But if not, I think she could do some damage on the feet as well. So
yeah,
it's going to be interesting.
Except that Shevchenko is not really that kind of a fighter. She's much more of a counter striker, right? So I'm wondering. I mean, now it would not be a surprise at all if she changes up her strategy here and actually is more aggressive. I think that's actually what she should do. If she doesn't do that, I mean, Holly Holm is, she's the kind of fighter who throws a lot of punches, doesn't connect with a lot of them, and sort of hangs around on the outside. She's not really, I don't know if she's going to give Shevchenko the chance to get like a solid counter strike, which is how she does most of her damage striking, right?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that's one issue I do have with Shevchenko is she doesn't put her foot on the gas enough. I mean, sometimes she's too tentative waiting to counter. So that makes me, a little bit concerned, especially with a fighter like Holm as well, because I wish you could put her foot on the gas, say, all right, be more aggressive, start get a little bit more offensive, because when she does, I mean, she's definitely a talented girl. She can do some damage along the way. So yes, that is one issue. If she sits back waiting too long for Holm, she could find herself, losing this fight for sure.
Or we could just see it be like a fight that's just kind of a little bit boring, kind of a war of attrition. And, 4.5 rounds is a ton of rounds. But, I mean, if Holly's very cautious and protecting herself, as she should be, and Valentina doesn't push the pace and is just looking for a counter-strike opportunity big counter-strike opportunities that never really materialize, this fight, maybe the best way to bet it is just over 4.5 rounds, minus 165. What do you think about that analysis, Nick Kalikas?
Yeah, I do think that there's a shot it does go over, because both of them are fairly durable. But in the back of my head, Holm's chin worries me for some reason. I mean, as the fight goes 5 rounds, again, against a talented fighter, I think she is going to take some damage along the way as well. But again, it's just kind of in the back of my head, because realistically, you would think that Holm should be fine going 5 rounds and not getting clipped and getting put out here. But I don't know. I just got that weird feeling. Again, feelings, who knows? You could throw those out the window a little bit, but what it is what it is. I think that Holm should go. So, yeah, over 4.5 rounds is probably going to be a competitive decision, probably a 3-2 type decision, 3 rounds to 2 type of situation there as well. So it is definitely an interesting fight. And like I said, I mean, the dog action that came in from the Sharp group recently, I don't blame them. I think that it was, like I said, a little bit overinflated, and most of the public is on the other side at Holm.
Yeah.
And I think it might actually climb up a little bit more, because there will be some sharp action coming back in at Holm, especially with the drop.
You think so?
Some of the scalpers. Yeah, I do think so. I think some of the scalpers might already got a decent price, and they're waiting to, come back in the other way as well. If they see the line movement, or if they timed it properly as well. So I think it could possibly go back up with the public action. But it's definitely a dog or pass situation, even at the current line right now. I would not lay Holly Holm.
That's what I was just going to ask you. I saw about 220 yesterday, and at that line, I was definitely leaning Shevchenko, and I think at plus 180, I would still be leaning that way. Would you agree with that, Nick?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, again, she's just kind of flying under the radar there. In my opinion, and I said this before this matchup here, Shevchenko is probably one of the best women at bantamweight. There's no doubt, because she has it all. And especially a 5-round fight. Now, in the past, she had a little bit of issues maybe going into deep waters. Her cardio at times was a little bit concerning, but I think she has been working hard. She's kind of built that cardio up to a point where I don't think it's going to be much of an issue these days. Yeah. So I do think she's a tough out for a lot of girls. Now, her size at times, Nunes was able to bully her around a little bit and get position, obviously, on the ground with her as well. So that is a little bit of a concern. But in a 5-round fight, if she can go 5 strong, she is definitely going to have an advantage over a lot of women. And that's the thing. If that Nunes fight was 5 rounds, like I said, honestly, we'd have Shevchenko right now that would have fought Miesha Tate. And she probably – I think she beats a fighter like Miesha Tate, to be honest with you.
Even though something's telling me in my gut that this fight might be a little bit boring, it might go the distance and over 4.5 rounds at minus 165, I wouldn't take it. So I guess my best bet on this fight would be Shevchenko at plus 180. Nick Kalikas, if you had to make a bet at the current odds, what would it be?
Yeah, if I had to bet anything at all, it'd still be the dog price. Even though, like I said, it got a lot worse, and it's kind of sad to see that drop, especially if you're still going in on the dog. But I still think there's some value there. I wouldn't lay the juice. Again, that 4.5, like you said, is a little tricky, especially laying that over a little bit. So I think out of anything, it's probably a dog or pass situation. And again, the wise guys agree with that. They came in that way as well. Doesn't mean they're going to win. I mean, let's face it out there. For those people that are listening and maybe are not too familiar with how that all works, wise guys lose. Sharp action loses at times as well. So it's not a guarantee that Shevchenko is going to pull it off, but it definitely increases her chances when you're getting sharp action coming in that way as well. Yeah,
I think she's just getting a little bit disrespected by the current market odds, considering what she's shown in the cage so far in her career. Nick Kalikas from MMAOddsbreaker.com. Thanks so much as always.
Always on the go? Bet365 has one of the top mobile platforms in today's market. Sign up today and don't let your busy life keep you out of the game.